You guys are still alive? Yeah! Holy sh!
The average person touches their face 2,000 or 3,000 times a day. 3 to 5 times every waking minute.
You gotta isolate the sick, and I mean really isolate them. We gotta get everybody else back into the houses. We gotta keep them there. We're doing that. No, we're not doing it. And if one of them has got it, then 10 of them have got it.
What does it mean? Judy, what does it mean?
They're checking for elevated temperature. It's gotta be some kind of virus.
If you just tell us what's going on, maybe we can actually help you. Time to nut up or shut up.
Hello and welcome to Season 2 of Apocalyptic, a movie review podcast for apocalyptic films. We are recording today on January 18th, 2022, and I'm here with Cammie.
Hiya.
And Andrew.
Hello.
And Chris.
Ahoy.
And I am Jeff, and we just want to say welcome. Thank you for joining us. And the film we are going to be talking about today is A Quiet Place 2.
Season 2. We're starting off on a sequel. I like it.
I do. I like it as well. It's very appropriate. Now, we're going to kind of, I think, drop a couple of the things we've done in the past. I don't think we're going to do a current COVID case count right now. I think what we'd rather do is get a little bit of an update from all the members of, this podcast. So let's go ahead and start with you, Cammie.
Sure thing. Oh, and we're switching the name of the segment to the endemic update.
Always topical.
Always topical. We got to keep moving with the times. So I'm actually looking to start with a master's program, hopefully by next summer. So I'm going to start working on my application and continuing my education.
It's an exciting thing to be starting off on.
I'm excited. I didn't think I was going to go back to the classroom, but here I am doing it Zoom-wise.
All right, Andrew, what about you? What's your endemic update?
I guess since the last time I live in Chicago now, have a new job, make video content for a cool company called Reaply. Similar to Cammie, I actually just started, or actually will start in 2 days, comedy writing classes at Second City, because I'm literally blocks from it. So it why the hell not?
I'm so jealous. Congratulations.
Yeah, that should be an interesting endeavor. So I'll say.
Sweet. That is awesome.
So by the end of my classes, I should be at least 2 times funnier.
I'll hold you to that.
God, and that was such a bad joke too. So hopefully it gets better.
This podcast is gonna get so good. You guys just you wait.
Yeah, how are we gonna gauge this? We need some sort of I don't know, some sort of system. All right, is that all, Andrew? That's a lot.
I mean, that's enough.
That's a lot.
That's Chris, take it away.
Yeah, good point. What about you, Chris?
Oh, me? Gosh, I'm not starting any new school.
Coming from
I'm already plenty funny, so I don't think I need any improvement on that either. So I'm just building fences and continuing the people's work. That's all I got.
There you go. Well, I mean, I would say that my update right now is we're attempting to do potty training for our son, and it's a interesting process that can be quite messy, and I'm having to get used to the idea of messes and cleaning up those messes, because pee just goes everywhere, and that's just the way life is, at least for a toddler. So that's what I've been working on. And we've redid our bedroom. Our background's a little different. We redid our bedroom, and that was kind of a fun project over Christmas. And that's my endemic update.
Yeah, that's plenty. Okay, let's
Jeff, just to give you some perspective.
hop right into that.
Yeah, enough. No more.
Everybody stop telling us about your life.
Jeff, just for some quick perspective, in my line of work, the urine continues into adulthood as well.
That's unpleasant. Thank you for that.
Oh, interesting. Also, Chris,
for you, it will end
if anyone's tuning into the video, I feel like we got to point out, Chris, you literally look like you're coming from like a third world country right now. Streaming live.
It's secretly been deployed again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. A third
It's
world
like, are you
country
back in the
with
Navy?
my Tesla. Right.
Yeah, it's sure. You got a Tesla behind you, but it looks like you've got
quality
like
of the camera
TNT.
really makes it look like a Corolla.
Guys, it's being streamed. This is not how it's recorded, so I can guarantee you the audience is going to see something different. So
Oh, okay.
that is just something to be
Great.
aware of.
It's
Um,
worth to have the context that like it doesn't look that way. It just looks really pixelated from our
it's just
POV.
hilarious.
Oh,
yeah.
It is very funny.
Now, I think it'd be a good idea to move on to our trailer. So, Andrew, would you play
Oh,
the trailer?
God.
What happened? A bomb, I think. I don't know why he came all the way up here. There's nothing left.
There are people out there. People worth saving.
Most people had finally given up hope.
Thank you, Andrew. I appreciate you playing that trailer. That was
good
great.
stuff.
I worked really hard to find that URL.
I hope that trailer has audio. It's not just like quiet voice. Shh.
Come on, we're trying to minimize
Probably
editing. We want to
Sorry,
take this
sorry.
stuff
Yeah,
out.
we also didn't actually watch it, but you listened to it or watched it.
Some one of the
To be
two.
honest,
good.
nobody did
Um,
either. So we don't have an audience.
All right. I'm gonna read you guys the synopsis for this movie. All right. Following the events of the first film, the remaining members of the Abbott family venture out in search of a new home. They quickly realize that the aliens that hunt by sound are not the only threats lurking beyond the sand path. Dun dun dun. All right, Chris. How fast can you Google what the box office numbers were?
Oh, pressure.
It's a
Season 2, less prepared.
I think it's one of those nice things that I do appreciate that we include in the podcast is kind of the box office numbers. So,
Oh yeah,
I gotta
Okay.
say, I think it's
Okay.
appreciated.
it's
We ready?
Yeah.
We're ready.
Go.
Okay. So, domestic gross was 160 million. International was 137 million for a combined total of just shy of 300 million. And the budget was pressure. That I don't have.
It's interesting that it did even that well, considering it was right in that time period where no one really knew what was going on in terms of the pandemic and when it would get like. I was so confused as to the release date of this movie.
60
well, it kept
million.
moving, but then
Okay,
50 million budget,
60
That's
million
cool.
300 million.
I mean, that did really well.
Yeah.
surprisingly.
But that was sort of like because that movie came out, I think, a little bit after the vaccine rollout, and it was sort of, I don't know, there was a lot of marketing and be like, use this as an opportunity as your first movie out, and that was the first movie I saw in theaters, so
They worked. Good
it
marketing.
worked.
Yeah. So we want to kick off this sort of review of this film. We're going to talk about a few scenes in particular.
Yeah, instead of doing the whole like beat by beat breakdown that we usually do, we're gonna focus on 4 key scenes. So
Yeah, at that point you could just watch the movie as opposed to us
just chatting about it. Yeah. So the first one the first one we want to kind of cover is that sort of opening sequence, though, this sort of flashback to the initial alien attack. Were you guys excited to see that they included that in this movie?
Yes.
Yeah. It reminded me because I literally just watched it right before we started recording again, and it reminded me of the opening of The Crazies. Actually,
yeah, I can see this.
Baseball. I mean, the baseball field, and that's where shit starts to go down.
Is that just like the small town America, like quintessential small town America is just baseball fields, like Little League?
I was gonna say, is it the same exact set? Because like there's like the same kind of like main street with the little alleys that people cut through.
I mean, could be.
It's probably somewhere in California, or maybe it's in like Georgia somewhere.
Yeah, it could be.
Makes
but
sense.
I liked it because first of all, I always welcome John Krasinski on screens big and small. He's easy on the eyes, but also like I just really enjoyed seeing basically all the stuff they couldn't afford to show us in the first movie. But also just like it's kind of like a brave choice to do a flashback scene when you've got kids that have definitely aged since the first movie.
Yeah,
without recasting them as well.
I feel like they just kind of were like, screw it, we'll just let it happen. They look older, deal with it. And I kind of got over that relatively quickly because it was like, okay, I get why they're trying to do this, and it was exciting. Like it was an excitingly well done scene. The tracking shot with John Krasinski through the town, and there was kind of this sort of ominousness to it that they did really well.
I will say that it kind of makes you think like if this situation was happening to you, would you catch on as quickly that they're triggered by sound? It felt like the characters caught on a little bit too quickly that like, hey, you can't make a noise, right?
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I think so. I think John Krasinski, I don't know. I thought the same thing. Like he seemed to figure it out before others, but I think at the same time, like if you're in that situation, I would want to be as quiet as possible, right? So I think that's like a normal, I don't know, like a normal discovery. And then once the cell phone goes off, it's like, oh shit, probably need to be quiet, even more so.
Yeah, I feel like if it was
put your phone in silence.
Yeah, but you got like the old guy who's like under a table, like I don't know, muttering to himself. Like,
who's praying?
Yeah, who's praying? I forget what he's saying.
No time for praying, man. Shut the fuck up.
But you're right. And then John Krasinski was all like, shh. Stop it! Before he kind of had the whole cell phone scene happen.
This is gonna get real nerdy. Oh, and you guys haven't played this game, The Last of Us. If you're at all familiar with the aliens and stuff in that game,
the mushroom
or whatever
head?
they are, the mushroom head thing, yeah,
we played a little bit.
They're called clickers, and they do a similar thing. They're blind, and they're kind of like bats in the sense that they make clicking sounds.
These echolocation.
Yeah, and so if John Krasinski's super smart, maybe he could kind of
just like college
recognize
educated.
that.
He picked it up that they're
in the middle of nowhere.
Echolocation. Well, I mean, he strikes me as at least industrious by like all the inventions
resourceful,
and you know, he's done some radio work stuff. So yeah, that was interesting. What did you think of the this whole opening sequence, Chris?
I just was thinking to the big quiet portion. It probably tracks with just what you would want to do with any other predator, you know, like in movies with velociraptors, you're like trying to stay quiet, or if there's like a lion, you're like, shh. So I think it makes sense that if something predatory is hunting you, at the very least, you're going to try not to make a lot of noise. So that tracks.
Unless it's a bear.
Unless it's a bear.
Then you want to scare it off.
Well, like
True.
I would get
Even
that
then,
if you're like the only like group of people who's being affected by these aliens, but this seems like it's more widespread, right? So like they're not the only ones that have to stay quiet. It's a whole freaking town, and there's other things going around. People driving, people like also figuring it out in other parts of the town. So anyway,
you'd assume that people like because them in that bar were staying relatively quiet compared to probably what's happening outdoors. You know, why they'd focus in on the bar is kind of interesting, like the animal, the creature, the alien, whatever it is. And I think you're right though, Chris. Like you'd want to be quiet, don't move quickly, I don't think there's a way to control it, but try and not smell. Like, what are the senses you'd assume they'd have, right? And how can you, what can you do to try and, reduce the likelihood that they can find you, right? And I think kind of going by those, there's only a few you can really control.
I just trying to imagine like trying to kick out that particularly like smelly patron in the bar. Like, sorry, Pete, you gotta go.
Or it could be someone who's like wearing perfume. I don't know.
Not John Krasinski though.
Anyway.
He probably has a very desirable musk to him.
Just nice, gritty but natural. Like
We were just
some sort of like
the praises of
sandalwood.
John Krasinski. He's a man that could do no wrong.
No.
He's Jack Ryan. Never
He's-
seen the
He's Jim
show, but I
Halpert,
know
come
it's
on.
great.
No, oh my god, seeing him in The Office and then seeing him in this movie, it's like
That's true. They're
it's
very
like
different.
his head got transplanted onto a different body.
Did Jim ever have a beard in The Office?
No,
Yeah, I don't think so.
no, he had like the weird kind of flippy like skater hair for a while, but anyway, I won't go too far into John Krasinski. Let's
All
keep
right.
this moving.
I want to move to another scene that we had sort of pinpointed, and there's a moment when let me make sure I get the character names right. Evelyn, played by Emily Blunt, Emily Blunt, Emily Blunt. She leaves her son and newborn baby alone to go get medical supplies.
They're at the steel refinery.
They're at the steel refinery. Yeah.
Steel or whatever. They're at a refinery, and there's like a special room that's a little bit more soundproof than like the outside area. So it's relatively safe, and it's got the super like soundproof room, but you only have a limited amount of like, oxygen in it.
Yeah. And so the son who's left behind with this newborn baby decides this is a good opportunity to go and explore the steel refinery. And we just kind of were so frustrated by this choice. I mean, he's a kid, but what would have brought him to that decision? We don't understand.
Yeah. My biggest gripes, and we'll get into the ratings later, but my biggest gripe is with this part of the story, or this side of the story, actually.
No.
Because, yeah, there were just a few, like, that decision just, because I mean, pardon my French, but the kid's a little bit of a pussy, and that's not really, like, a thing that I would assume that would be his first urge to do, especially when he's got his little baby brother to take care of.
It's a little strange.
So.
Andrew,
I
I
can understand
gotta
it.
push back on that a little bit. Based on the happenings of the first movie, he and his older sister seemed pretty, like, I don't know, pretty admirable in their efforts.
I think he redeems himself at the end of this movie, and sure, there he has moments, but I think at the beginning of part 2, at least, the dynamic is the sister's the badass. The brother's got some opportunity. That's really, I think that's,
like,
and so in terms of Emily Blunt going to do her thing and then he deciding to leave and look around the room, that just, it didn't.
His foot also got caught in a bear trap
And
a
that's
day or
another
two
element,
before.
yeah.
It's like, what? Not moving is probably a relatively good idea. So it's just it felt to us like, okay, so you have him exploring, you have the sister who's out trying to find this island, which we'll talk a little bit about later, and you have the mom going to the town to get some medical supplies. And
there's one gun for them, like for the three of them, like.
But the point is, like, they're cross-cutting between these three different scenarios. It felt like they're just having tension for the sake of tension.
Yeah,
it was like it felt just very like we were being manipulated as an audience, just to create tension versus something that was.
There's already
worthwhile to
plenty
the
of
story.
tension. You're already at the edge of your seat because, like, clearly, like, these two have a gun. She doesn't have a gun. She's going into the town. Like,
the only thing that I'll say now that I'm thinking about it a little bit is they need a reason for why the alien shows up at the refinery, because otherwise there wouldn't have been that. Because that's what he does. He ends up drawing an alien to the refinery based on his actions.
but she could have done that. Like, that's the thing.
It's true.
Is
They
that,
could have
like,
done it a different way.
the monsters appear at the drop of a hat. Like,
Literally, at the drop of a hat, just like. So that was at least interesting to us, kind of why that took place.
Do you, this is slightly, it's on topic, but it kind of veers off, particularly in the scene. But Did you guys think Emily Blunt had enough to do in this movie?
No, that's what I'm saying. She could have
Yeah.
done so much more. There could have been so much more tension with her part. I almost wonder if like maybe she had like another commitment that they needed her like to have like a break. So they're like, oh cool, we'll just use the like son to create that tension while she's off like doing
Yeah.
another project or something. Like that's the only reason I can think of because like she's so underutilized in this movie.
It was kind of surprising when I first saw the movie. I was just like, wow, that like she's not pregnant anymore. I understand she's got a kid, but the fact that she leaves the kid is almost a matter of like, okay, well, they still could do something with her. They had intentions. Yeah, interesting.
I didn't really pick up on that. Like her being underutilized.
On what?
On just Emily Blunt being underutilized, because I thought every scene she was in was really good. It hadn't occurred to me that there weren't enough of them. But
I wanted more of her.
I wanted more of her. Like
Well,
I love watching her, and I think she did a great job with the scenes that she had. But like, I think that something could have happened to her. Something else could have happened to her while she was out, and like she had like an encounter outside while she was trying to like gather up all of her tanks of oxygen. But like, I think something else could have happened.
Well, I think this is a good opportunity. I'm kind of switching the order up of what I sent you guys, but a good opportunity to bring in Cillian Murphy's character, Emmett, who's a new character in this film.
Mm-hmm.
And because a lot of the scenes that she has in which she really kind of has an opportunity to have a scene is when, they show up and she's in conversation with Emmett here. And he is an interesting character, right? Like they know him. You met him in the flashback sequence. It seems like he's a little, like their relationship felt a little strained. I don't know if you guys saw that, or I felt that a little bit in that flashback.
I got the impression that they just knew each other.
Yeah.
Like they weren't necessarily even friends. They just were like at
Small
the same
town
baseball events.
yeah.
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 Well, she does say like we were friends. Like at one point when she's trying to pressure him to allow them to stay a little bit longer, and he's like, "Sorry, like I've already like lost enough. Like I don't need this as well."
So Cammie and I had a discussion about this, and we were curious to get your guys' opinion on it. So he's lost his wife, he's lost his son, and he's adamant about not helping them. He wants them out of his foundry. And for me, it was kind of like, well, what else could he be doing?
Selfish.
Yeah. Like I understand he's probably in a lot of pain. But why not? He has this potential, a purpose again. But is he just so broken after this experience that he can't bring himself to, imagine the idea of having people to care for again? I don't know.
That was my thought. It's just he got burned, and he didn't want to be in a position to have feelings again and have it happen again because he was so jaded by what everything had become.
Yeah, because he's the only one of the cast, the core cast that like has really experienced the feral humans as well, which appears like to have had like a strong impact on him. It's part of the reason why, like, he knows that like if they stay, he's gonna have to find more resources, and he might have to like wrestle with the feral people again.
His risks increased considerably.
Yeah, and so I think there's a bit of a selfish motive, but he seems to want to survive still. So it's not like he wants to die.
I mean, this is the same character that he played in 28 Days Later. So he's just learned from that.
He saw that movie.
Terrible experience.
He saw that movie.
He saw that movie.
That's funny.
Like, God damn it.
Yeah.
I've been here before. I've seen it before.
These guys run as well. Like, fuck this.
No, I mean, he probably like he just didn't have a motivation after those events of losing his family until they came along.
Yeah.
I did find it kind of funny though. Like Emily Blunt is really like, you must find my daughter, and he's like, I don't know about this, and she's just being. It's kind of in my head I was just like, Emily Blunt, you go get your daughter. That's an interesting story. Let's follow that. And Cillian Murphy, he can, I don't know, do another.
Now, if she had found her daughter, though, she would have made her come back. So it's a good thing. I would
fair.
argue that Emmett was the one
That's true.
to go get her, because like he was like, all right, fine, let's go find
That is
beyond
true.
the sea, you know.
But that like allowed him to kind of redeem himself, and so that's probably why they needed to use him, was because Emily Blunt doesn't need to redeem herself, so she would have.
No,
you said,
she didn't.
All right, it's better writing.
Yeah, like his story arc needed that for
Yeah.
sure, especially after his real, you know, his adamant desire not to help them, right?
Mhm.
Like he
Yeah.
needed this kind of this sort of storyline and this arc, which worked out. I mean, obviously worked out pretty darn well.
So like we're already kind of like heading into like our the last thing that we're gonna cover, and that's the like when Emmett and come on, here we go, Regan,
Yeah.
Regan, I don't know how when the older sister and Emmett end up going out, they find all these boats and they're stoked, and then they encounter the feral people, and you have this like really like tense moment where they essentially trap Emmett using this like noisemaker.
Really
Jingle
clever trap idea, right? Like, oof.
Jingle bells, yeah.
Jingle bells, mother.
And shout out to is this how you say his name? Scoot McNairy.
Yeah.
Is he one of the actors?
A nice little cameo.
The Marine
He's
or
great.
man?
Like I love him as an actor, and like his part in this is very
Yep,
small,
I agree.
but he's super creepy,
Yep.
and he definitely leaves an impression.
Mhm.
It's Scoot. That's
Yeah.
his name, Scoot.
I mean,
Hold on, I want to see a
McNair.
picture of this fella.
I'm trying
so
to
funny.
pull it up.
Yeah,
It's
the
from
same way
Dallas,
that, like,
Texas.
it's, you know, Yeezy. It's like, I don't think his name is Scoot.
His name is
I have
John
a friend.
Marcus.
I have a friend that's
John
nicknamed
Marcus
Scoot.
Scoot McNairy. Scoot
you
is
go.
his nickname.
This guy is
Stage
destined to be at like an abandoned gas station somewhere, just
Yeah,
telling teenagers not to head to a cabin somewhere.
What's that movie he's in with Brad Pitt? It's like killing
Killing Him
something.
Softly.
Killing Me
Kill-
Softly.
Great movie.
Oh,
Yeah.
great movie too.
That's a fun movie.
Yeah,
He's good in,
And
he's good in lots of, he's good in
Mr.
tons of
Scoot
things,
is in
almost
that.
everything he does.
Yeah.
Um,
Also Vice. I saw that recently with him. Anyway, good guy, good actor. Happy he was in this.
so one of the things I want to comment on is like I absolutely loved how Emmett decides to play this, like how he grabs Scoot. I think it's Scoot that he grabs and essentially wraps him into the jingle bells, and then is able to like wrap him around a pole, and he essentially uses the aliens to cut himself loose from it. That was one of the most absolute badass moments in this movie.
It happens so quickly,
Yeah.
so swiftly. Because that's how the aliens move. But like we had to be rewinded once because Jeff was like, "What just happened?"
That was awesome. I didn't pick up on the fact that he saw that one of the creatures drowned. I missed
didn't
that
either
fact. I
until
don't
the
know if you guys.
Yeah, I didn't pick up on it either.
Okay.
But that was something
Yeah,
I was,
because
I was
they
gonna bring up
needed to-
later.
Yeah, we'll bring it up.
Well, just
What was
the notion that
like? How do you?
there's no, like, what's the fact that they're going to make more of these is good because you can really start to expand on the, you know, with the world building, and maybe that's why they kind of shared the wealth with Cillian Murphy and not just Emily Blunt. Like, she's not going to do these movies forever, and so you've got to start
No.
expanding the people
That's
that are going to be
fair.
in the movies, and we don't have a good idea yet of how many of these things there are. Like that ship that crash landed, like, because you could, it stands to reason that if it just
Do you think that
landed-
was a ship?
Huh? Oh, it could be an
You
asteroid.
said ship that crash landed?
Maybe.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Asteroid.
Yeah, but if
I was-
Yeah, you know,
okay.
if there's one of the ships, if there's lots of people
Yeah,
on that
but
ship,
that's what
like,
you-
it's-
Do they mean
Or there's like multiple coming all over the
that's
world.
the question. So now you get
potentially.
into like, okay, well, if they can't
Yeah.
swim, and if this is the only ship, then it could mean that they're contained to North America,
Mhm.
or well, I guess North and South America. And so
yeah, there's
that's
a bit
just
of
something
land
kind
bridge.
of to like, you get to kind of explore this weakness, you know, on a wide spread scale, which is kind of fun.
It's interesting. I just wish they'd give it a little more emphasis because I definitely didn't pick up on it.
Well, that's partly our fault. Like I think we paused it around this point. for a
I
second.
think you're
We
right.
were listening to the movie on AirPods.
So we had an AirPod in each ear, like we were sharing, so we could watch it without loud noises. The joys of watching movies with a toddler.
We,
And
we paused it for whatever reason. Clark made a noise, whatever. And I forgot to put mine back in. So I had the Regan experience where I thought they had suddenly switched to just like a completely quiet
You just
movie for like a beat.
yeah, their ears is the sensory deprivation version of the film where you just don't hear anything.
it was perfect too, because like we literally we arrived on the island, right? So they discover a boat, they go to the island that they're searching for, and all of a sudden you hear campfires and people talking, and so I'm hearing this, she's hearing none of it. And so she's like experiencing this.
I was just like, oh, they're right, like where the others live on Lost. Like there's just like cabins and whatnot. Okay. And then like there's like a campfire. It's like, oh, this is interesting. And then they're talking, and I was like, oh, what are they saying? I wonder what they're saying. I'm just experiencing this like Regan. Like I'm just trying to read lips over here.
This sounds similar
And
to
then I finally realized like, oh shoot.
that sounds similar
Like
to
I gotta plug in.
I put on Eternals a couple days ago to watch it, and I didn't realize because I was listening to it, and Kit Harington was talking to the actress whose name I cannot remember, and they were in a classroom, and they're talking in Spanish, and I was like, wow, Kit Harington has some pretty good Spanish. And I watched another 5 minutes or so, and I was like, man, a lot of this movie's in Spanish. So I go up to the subtitles and the dubbing, and sure enough, I'd had it on the Spanish version for the first 15 minutes of the film.
So I'm guessing that you've had Spanish cartoons on for your daughter, and forgot to switch it back, because we've been there too.
Correct.
That's
First time, but
hilarious.
I felt real sheepish thinking Kit Harington was fluent in Spanish.
That's hilarious.
Sometimes I just do that to challenge myself.
We've told I told my mother, our mother, to watch these shows in Spanish too, because it'd be better for her Spanish education. So.
That's right.
Anyway, moving back to the movie. So yeah, we were like, I was thoroughly confused at this point of the movie until we finally rewound, and I was like, oh, okay. Wow, like there's this island that somehow got spared. No idea that like the aliens couldn't like swim.
Right.
That this
I
was like
confused at that
secretly
point, too.
signs the sequel.
Yep.
Mhm.
But it was fascinating because then like he goes to explore the island or whatever, and he discovers the alien, right?
He discovers the boat that was at the dock. Again, this is a bit of.
What are the chances?
This part also I was a little bothered by. Like, how convenient.
Yeah, it's a plot device. Like,
The alien crawls out like he's hungover.
And I think it's also the element of like, it's one thing that the boat was washed up on that island, but it was like also Cillian Murphy that
Was the one who discovered it.
It's
Yeah,
like,
like-
oh my god, how
What a
how
great
big is the
coincidence.
island that ends up like really close by?
I was
How long is
critical.
the journey? I've got questions.
Sorry, go ahead.
You were critical.
No, that's it. That's all I had. Sorry.
Oh, I think this is just kind of like the sometimes prepper in me, but the fact that the island had like no defenses, no sense of preparation in case something were to happen and one of these things suddenly was able to get to the island, that's the kind of thing
Yeah.
that bothers the shit out of me in movies, because I was thinking back to like, I think it's The Gray, where Liam Neeson crashes on the plane in the middle of the Arctic and there's wolves and stuff. And like the first thing
Yeah.
he does is make a weapon. And it's like, yeah, that's what you do. Like, you've got stuff that you can make something out of to like defend yourself, or some kind of early alarm system like the ones they had in the first movie. And this little New England paradise had nothing, which I thought was just fucking stupid. Anyway, that's all I got.
It's a fair point. It's a false sense of security they had.
and there
They
was
had the
no
biggest
gun.
moat.
No, but like,
Did they have a gun?
I don't know if they had any guns, but like
There's no gun.
they had these big old fires burning. They hadn't set up any like defensive measures along the coast. They didn't have any type of like little jingle bells around the island. They had nothing as a group that they'd done together to like prep.
Like, not even a camera. Like,
yeah, no,
nothing.
yeah, right, nothing.
Yeah.
So,
And they had
that's
electricity too.
I know.
Yeah, with the radio station and everything. Well, that was the whole thing. Is the daughter? Just to give the audience a little bit of context too, is the daughter has this way that she discovered from the first movie how she can incapacitate the aliens with her cochlear implant.
She takes her fucking time. Sorry, excuse my language, but she takes her time to get it hooked up to the radio station. She was like, "Let me just jam out with the kids from the island and just have some good times." No, you get to that island and you immediately go and put your implant like next to that microphone. Like, you've got your mom, like, and, like, siblings all rationing, like, oxygen back at the refinery. Like, you immediately hook them up with that sound. Ah, it just made me so mad.
A little slow.
Yeah.
A little slow. It's true. And that's kind of how the movie concludes, right? I mean, where we kind of get to this point where this surprise alien shows up. I'm blanking on who's the guy that's in the movie that's sort of the mayor of the town. You know,
Djimon Hounsou of Gladiator fame.
Yeah, Blood Diamond, and who's great.
He's so good in Blood Diamond.
He's also in Guardians of the Galaxy and Captain Marvel.
Yeah,
he's a great actor. I'm a big fan. But so they, he leads them to the radio station, and she takes her sweet time, even when they get there. To get this thing hooked up. it's so tedious. Oh my god! Do you think Cillian Murphy survives like his stab wound? He gets like stabbed or something.
Oh yeah, he
in this moment.
Yeah, they both got stabbed in the legs. Emily Blunt and Cillian. They'll be fine.
Yeah, it's true.
A lot of leg injuries in this movie.
Really? Yeah.
I'm not sure Djimon Hounsou's injuries were leg injuries.
Probably not. I mean, he was grabbed by the leg.
Oh yeah, no,
he's not gonna make it to A Quiet Place 3.
Probably not.
Now, do these alien things? Do they eat the people, or are they just like bashing them?
I think they're just angry.
Yeah,
just angry,
or just they don't like it. They don't like noise.
Yeah, they just seem like they're sticking around to eat. They're like, stop making sounds.
Yeah. Who's the woman on Netflix that has a show about cleaning up messes?
Marie Kondo.
Yeah.
No. Oh my god.
I'm sorry.
The segue.
The aliens,
how?
Listen, hear me out. The aliens in this movie are basically the sound Marie Kondos. They just don't like sound. She doesn't like mess. They don't like.
I want natural sound.
They just want nothing.
They're like, thank you, but you no longer bring me joy.
Yeah.
We haven't watched Netflix. I have no idea what that show is.
They just don't like.
Oh, Andrew, put it on.
I just love the synopsis. You know that show about that person that like doesn't like things, whatever the hell he said. Like,
that was enough.
Like,
that was enough. Yeah, got it.
I got that.
And the joy of the show is that sometimes she shows up to people's houses and they're like, okay, cool, so clean it all up. And she's like, no, that's not what I do. I just don't like messes, and I tell you how to like
I tell you
take care of your life.
So it's just about cleaning houses?
Organizing. And just like bringing order to your home, but like in a very like Zen way.
I now
meanwhile my apartment's a mess.
Andrew,
so
I now fold my t-shirts the Marie Kondo style. Like that's the impression I got.
Her movie would be called A Tidy Place.
That's a fact. It would be that.
Snaps. That was a good one. Alrighty, let's keep this rolling over to our toilet paper rolls.
Are we going to shift to a different? We talked about it. Anyway.
I was thinking about this.
How do we want to change our rating system?
Let's chat about it for a moment, guys, because we're trying to be on toilet paper.
You want to give it booster shots?
No, I feel like we should. Let's not do booster shots. Yeah. How many booster shots? I mean, I guess we're going to be using them for a while.
Yeah.
So
how many It's like, you know, everyone's like, I don't want there to be too many boosters. In this case, you can get up to 10.
You want 10?
You want 10 boosters.
I can choose another rating system.
That's fine with me. I like. Are you guys
for this episode
boosters?
Until somebody?
Well, okay, let's just like. Is there any other quick ideas? Because I'm all for the booster, at least for this episode.
I mean, I give it 10 variants.
Wait, what's the Omicron proteins? Got like extra protein? No, it's not as catchy. Variants.
I think boosters is good because yes, while 10 boosters may not be something people want, at least it's a defense. There's something positive about it versus variants.
We ideally don't want to get to the point of 10 boosters, but hey, whatever.
Yeah, so let's go with boosters for today's episode.
For today, if somebody thinks of something better, please comment on our Instagram post. If you can think of something better, we'll consider it.
Yeah. Please do. So I guess we put on the spot. Chris, let's start with you this time. What's your number of boosters for Quiet Place Part 2?
I'm gonna go with a 9. I think Emily Blunt is incredible in these movies because she is just any scene she's holding a shotgun, she's just perfect. She should do this forever. I think she is. I'm so sad that she had to do fucking Gulliver's Travels because if she hadn't, she would have been Black Widow
or the Jungle Cruise.
Oh, I mean, I don't know about that one, but
or wait, what?
She was not She was not Black Widow because she was obligated to do Gulliver's Travels with Jack Black.
That's true.
Oh, gotcha.
I
That
did
will
hear about
always
that.
bug
Oh,
the
right.
shit out of me because she, I think, as much as I don't mind Scarlett Johansson, but I think Emily Blunt's better. Just personal thought.
At least we have Edge of Tomorrow.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Another great movie.
Yeah, my only real qualms with this one because I thought she doesn't need. I don't need John Krasinski in these movies. I'm happy to have Emily Blunt be the star. I'm all for it. The only thing I really didn't like was the silliness on the island because that could have been prevented with a little preparation.
Gotcha.
And the music's
All
really
right.
good. The way it's 12. The music's great. That's all I got.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Andrew, what about you?
I wish I remembered what my last score was for the first one.
Oh.
But with that said, I'm gonna give this 6 booster shots.
Okay, that's a little lower than I was expecting. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's funny because when I walked out of the theater seeing my first post-pandemic movie,
endemic movie now.
endemic, whatever. It's What year is it? But I was like the ending to me was super like frustrating. I felt like we hadn't finished the story yet. So that left a real bad taste in my mouth. And so going into seeing it again, I was just like, okay, I hope I don't feel the same way that I did before. And sure enough, I did.
What did
And
you
I found,
say?
well, first off, like they venture out, like Emily Blunt's like, Cillian Murphy, get my child. We haven't concluded that
transaction's just not done until
that transaction's not done. And I think what I like about the first Quiet Place, and it was made without the intention of it being a franchise, I think, and at least initially. I think what's a little frustrating is like immediately at the ending, I was just like, oh, of course there's going to be a third one. And I'm not like against there being like multiple of these movies, but I think when a movie relies on like a conclusion in another franchise, unless you're like Avengers Endgame or some shit, it was just a little frustrating. So that feeling stuck with me.
Andrew?
And as I've mentioned,
can
you not hear me? Hello. I see my waveform.
We can hear you.
We can hear you, Andrew. I know Chris might not be able to hear you. That's okay. Continue.
Anyway, as I was saying through the podcast, there are multiple kind of gripes that I had here and there, and I think second viewing those stood out to me a bit more. So.
We can hear you, Chris. Can you?
I think you're gonna have to refresh, Chris.
I don't know if he can hear us.
You can hear me.
We're getting through. We can.
Refresh.
Let's keep this going.
I'm not going to cut this out, by the way. Continue, Andrew.
Yeah. that's sorry, technical difficulties. I mean, that's pretty much it. So I think like the issues that I had with the movie were a bit more glaring the second go around, and I just didn't find the ending to be fulfilling because I felt like there was maybe like 10 or 15 minutes more that we could have had a nice little bow at the end. Doesn't have to be a happy ending, but it needed to be a complete ending in my mind.
Gotcha.
So 6 boosters, please.
Yeah. I agree with that rating. I would also give it 6 boosters. It's funny because like the second that Cillian Murphy like brought out the little like clock alarm, I was like, this freaking vault with like the limited oxygen supply will have to come back. It's so unnecessary, but it's gonna have to come back in some way, and it's gonna be real in a really annoying way. And sure enough,
Chekhov's gun.
yeah, like Marcus like goes out exploring in the steel refinery, which is not the quietest place in the world. It's not a mattress factory. It's a freaking steel refinery. So like, I just feel like I would have instead rather like him just playing like good older brother and like Emily Blunt gone out and just like kicked butt or whatever. Like with the like oxygen tanks just like whipping him around or whatever the heck she has to do. Like I would rather have had that or like had like those 15 minutes instead traded for like a better ending. I hadn't even thought about the fact that like, yeah, the daughter never truly comes home. I would have rather have had that. And it's funny that like I hadn't even realized they were going to go for like a third movie, but it kind of goes against like the very reason why John Krasinski, like he initially had said like the Paramount wanted the first movie to be a part of the Cloverfield universe, and he went against that because he wanted this to be its own thing. He didn't want it to be a part of the franchise, and like lo and behold, it's becoming a franchise. And like Andrew's review kind of shows how like it's kind of becoming its own, you know, like.
I mean, Paramount is a company that I think is really trying to make as many franchises as possible.
Every company or every
Paramount is kind of like gross about it sometimes, though. I think. Anyway, I don't know.
Anyway,
you're right, Andrew. They should hate money. You're right. You're right.
I mean, like, how many Transformers were they just? Ugh.
Fast and Furious.
But sorry, just to go back to my rating, like I loved all the performances. Like honestly, fantastic cast. I just like, and I love just John Krasinski, but like some of the creative choices I thought were not the ones that like I wished he had made. I thought that like the first movie was just so clever, minus the whole stepping on a nail thing, which I will never forgive him for. But and it comes back in this freaking movie. She comes like running back down the same set of stairs, and this nail is still there. I was like, oh my god, put like a potato on it. I don't care. Just take care of it. But like, that really like that nail just. Like her foot's so
imagine coming across that and be like, what's up with this potato? Standing up straight.
At least it's protected and it's quiet.
And I thought I've seen everything.
The anti-gravity potato.
Anyway, I just like there's too many like moments where I wanted to shake the cast. Like not for what like for their performances, but for like the creative choices that they were forced to make as characters.
Gotcha. Yeah. I'm gonna give it a little higher than you guys. I thoroughly enjoyed the movie. I was excited by it. It had me gripped. Maybe in some ways that I thought were a little manipulative, but it still was an exciting watch. So I'm gonna go ahead and give it a 7. Not quite as high as Chris, but higher than Andrew and Cammie. That did bother me when, he rushes down to grab the baby and put him in the protective chamber. And for some reason, when he does it, the door locks. But when Emily Blunt returns and they go in there, somehow it no longer locks. Like the towel is blocking
magically like comes into place.
And now is blocking it from being locked. So, like bits and pieces like that did bother me. And the ending didn't, though. I wasn't bothered by the fact that she ended up back there. Like, I don't need to see that wrapped up in a bow. It's okay that they you get the information that she was successful in creating this defense mechanism or this new defense or offense, I should say, against these aliens. So that's fine with me. And you're right that a lot of part 2 or sequel movies that are intended to be trilogies have like these sort of drop-offs where the story is obviously going to continue. And I didn't feel like this was as bad as some. Like you watch Matrix Reloaded or Pirates of the Caribbean 2, like they're awful, and how they end is just so annoyingly preparing you for a sequel. And I hated that. I still do. And I think it's terrible filmmaking. So I didn't feel like this one had it as bad as those films. So 7 out of 10 boosters for me.
That statement alone, I love that. 7 out of 10 boosters.
For
This-
me,
I
Still
think
not
this is
fully
gonna stay.
vaccinated.
Yeah.
but-
according to something,
Sounds-
I think this
That sounds like
movie
I'm the
should
most
stay.
protected.
you're the most boosted. So yeah, I
You're the
agree.
hospital suckers.
I agree. It's a good movie. I'd be excited to watch the next one. I think that's a fair to say.
Yeah.
I'd be excited to see what happens next.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's it. Well done.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I think that pretty much concludes the A Quiet Place Part 2 podcast. So I hope you listeners appreciate this format, kind of focusing in on a few more scenes, or I should say a few
less
fewer scenes, to kind of get a little bit more of a expedited conversation on the movie going. And please,
How'd you guys watch the movie?
You rented it?
My Apple Watch.
You watched it on your Apple Watch. Oh, nice. Yeah, so did I. I know it's on Paramount Plus, so for people that subscribe
That's how I
to
watched
that.
it.
We do not.
Okay, there you go.
yeah, I know Chris watches his Yellowstone, so it has to have his Paramount Plus.
I need my SpongeBob, so.
There you go. Well, thank you, Andrew, Chris, and Cammie for
And thank you, Jeff.
today's podcast. Anything you want to add, Andrew or Chris?
Stay beautiful.
Wiedersehen, Angela.
I was gonna say, Andrew, follow us on Instagram, Apocalyptic.
Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah. Do the social stuff. We're on Instagram. Got to update that.
I think we're gonna
and
hopefully have a YouTube up this time.
we have a YouTube. There's already a YouTube.
Yeah.
Got to update that too. Just search Apocalyptic, IG, YouTube. Get it.
Apple Podcasts.
And please
Apple
give us
Podcasts
feedback.
and Spotify.
Do you prefer the beat by beat breakdown, or are you down with this whole focus scene zoom in, or do you want us to look into a new rating system? Just let us know.
Yeah, we're open to it.
Yeah, and if you've listened this far, if you just reach out, do anything. Just let us know you did it. We're proud of you.
Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well done to everyone here, but more importantly, this individual or people listening
Yeah.
or watching.
Thank you. We appreciate it. All right. Have a good night, everybody. Have a good day, everybody.
Bye.